Hey everybody, this is Demari. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be doing the the Shadow Work Tarot reading for the sign of Capricorn. Now, as you know, last weekend we had a very powerful full moon in the sign of Pisces. That was a harvest moon. So that was a very good opportunity to purge a lot of lingering emotions. Particularly those are tied to painful experiences, memories, circumstances that we've had to deal with recently or further on in the past. So it was a very good time for purging and to really see things objectively so that you can transform your situation or the environment you're in so you can move on in a more positive light. So that's why I really love doing the shadow work readings in the mid-month just after the full moon, because it really allows you to see your situation very clearly, and then you're able to take the information, process it, heal and move forward. So to begin with, I'm going to be using the Dark Mirror Oracle deck so we can get the energies associated with what your shadow self is revealing at this time. Then I'll be using the Wild Unknown Tarot to get more information in regards to your circumstances, thoughts, behaviours and any people involved. And then we'll be clarifying with the intuitive as always, where needed. So let's get stuck in for you then, Capricorn, and see what your shadow self is revealing to you at this time. Okay, so the first card you got is Today for Tomorrow, which is very interesting. As you can see, there's two versions of the self pictured here, and that's very much in terms of realizing that maybe there are certain things that you're putting on hold now in order to hopefully create a better future for yourself, okay, or to really capitalize on something later on. So it may be that you're holding back certain emotions or you're not acting on a situation because you're hoping by taking that approach you'll be able to affect the future in a positive way, or in a way that's aligned with your vision, right? This is also like twin energy, Gemini energy. So it could be linked to a Gemini, or you could have Gemini in your charts, but it's very much, more about your connection with the self than anything, right? That there's certain things that you're putting on hold, or that you're holding back on, or you're sacrificing in some way in the hopes that it will serve you in the future. Okay, so that's generally what's being communicated here. So you're sacrificing some aspect of your happiness today with the hopes that your future will be brighter in some way. So let's see what else is going on here, because there's never just one thing in isolation. I always like to pull two cards for this, as it gives us a better indication of what's happening. So, especially as both cards tend to be intertwined. So let's just see what else is going on for you. Okay, so you've got Downcast Pride. So it may be that... Okay, so with this, usually it's associated with the fact that you've had to, you've been uprooting yourself because there's certain things you've been doing that has projected a false image, okay? So you're having to look at yourself from a new lens and, see what it is that you're projecting that's not aligned with what you truly are, right? What you truly are, what you truly represent, or what you want, right? But at the moment you may not be doing that because you're afraid of the consequences. You're afraid how that will affect your tomorrow, right? So you're just kind of sitting in this energy of feeling, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of loathing and disgust, but you also have an awareness, right? There's no deception with this. This is just, an unhappy awareness that you have of circumstances or of yourself. and rather than trying to deny it or hide it, you're just kind of you're just responding kind of negatively towards this circumstance or whatever it is that's being brought to your awareness. And that with this energy here, I'm thinking that rather than trying to change things head on or challenge some aspect of it, I think you're just kind of sacrificing some of your happiness in the hopes that things will change for the better in the future. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I mean, I will clarify this further, but it just seems like in some way you are aware that you're not happy, that something isn't working in your situation, something is bringing real unhappiness into your life, and you've had to uproot yourself to see just what it is. But rather than deal with that head on and try and change it now, you're leaving some aspect of it for now in the hopes that in the future you'll be better equipped to deal with it, or something will change within that. Okay, so that might not be the best course of action, to be honest, Capricorn, because as we know from experience, a lot of the time if you leave something to fester, it only gets worse. The situation tends to morph into something even more complicated, and your feelings, this I see real contempt and resentment in this energy, right? And I feel like those kinds of energies and feelings will only grow stronger, and you'll just feel much more of that towards the individual or the circumstance, right? So it may not be the wisest decision to just kind of let things slide for now, or make a choice that is going to cause further unhappiness for you at this present time, okay? But we'll have a look at what exactly is going on here, because it's not so clear at the moment. It could apply to many different circumstances, so let's just have a look for you. So what is going on with Capricorn? So to begin with, I'll be pulling cards for the previous week we just left behind, so that's this column here. Alright. Then the week that we're currently in at the moment, and the last week, full week of September, so next week, okay? Alright. Let's see what's going on here. So you have the Six of Wands in reverse here. So yeah, I mean, it's in the situation of should I stay or should I go, in order to feel free from it, in order to be happy. You chose to stay, right? Rather than fleeing a situation, you chose to stay. And I don't think that's making you happy at all, by any means. And that you're sacrificing that happiness. That was a conscious decision that you made. So for whatever reason, you felt as if you were trapped, or if you were not free in some way, but you chose to stay anyway. So in the middle of last week, you had the Two of Pentacles in reverse. By the way, I will be clarifying this in a moment, all of these cards, but just to give you a gist. So the Two of Pentacles in reverse, I feel like, you knew you had a decision to make, right? And that was going to have a major impact on, where you're at currently and how you feel towards things in general, and even yourself, right? As well as whoever's entangled in this situation. And that you was kind of just going back and forth in your mind between whether or not you should leave the circumstance or stay. But you made your decision, right? You chose to stay, even though you knew that was going to have some consequences, right? And that it was going to affect your overall feelings of stability and fulfillment. So then in the weekend, with that full moon energy, you had the Five of Swords in reverse. So Yeah, you made a decision not to cut someone off or to leave the circumstance, and you know by doing that, you were having to sacrifice some aspect of yourself, right? You were having to give away your happiness, you were having to cut off some of your feelings in order to remain within this situation, which sounds really toxic to me, to be honest, Capricorn. You know, that sounds very, very detrimental to your mental health and emotional health, okay? But for whatever reason, you decided you couldn't stay. Maybe you couldn't leave. I think that something was brought to your awareness, particularly over this time, and that just solidified it in your mind that I can't leave. I just can't, you know, especially now that I know this. There's no way I can leave. It's impossible. I'm going to have to stay even if I don't want to. Right, that's the kind of energy I'm getting from this, right, for the last week. So for Monday then, this week, you had, or rather the start of this week, Monday, Tuesday, you had the Three of Wands in reverse. So yeah, it is not aligned with what it is that you truly want, your true happiness, the thing you're passionate about, the thing that makes you feel aligned to your purpose. This is so far removed from that, and you know it, right? You feel it, that it's keeping you away from living in such a way that feels aligned, right? And makes you feel whole and vibrating on a high frequency. This doesn't resonate with that at all, this situation. And you know that. But as I said, for some reason, which we'll try and look into in just a moment, you still chose to stay. So going into the middle of the week then, you had the Five of Wands. So yeah, I mean, that's more discontentment, disconnected, feeling the sense of loss, I think, within the self, that you let go of your, I think you've kind of let go of your empowerment by choosing to stay in this situation. You don't feel empowered, you don't feel strong, you don't feel passionate about anything. You feel very disconnected even from your own true nature. So I feel like you've sacrificed some aspect of self in order to stay here, even though it's causing a lot of inner resentment towards the situation and potentially someone within this, okay? So then in the reverse position, you know, Father of Swords, you had that in the position of the weekend. So this weekend coming up now, you got the Father of Swords in reverse. So that tells me, obviously King of Swords in reverse, that it is very much connected to a masculine energy that is very left-brained, right? Someone who's very methodical and logical, but with this energy that I'm feeling holding this card, I feel like this is someone that could be very narcissistic, very manipulative, cunning, that knows how to keep you where you are, right? That knows how to play on your heartstrings to keep you locked into this toxic situation, right? It feels a bit like an abusive relationship. I'm just going to be honest, right? It feels a bit like that. And if that is the case, if you are in an abusive relationship, then you really have to reassess all of this, because this is not going to lead anywhere good, okay? It's not advisable to stay within it by any means, okay? So you really need to address that. If you need support, there are places where you can go, like women's shelters, things like that. There are hotlines that you can call. Also, it may be worth reaching out to friends or family members that you know will support you. But you know, if this is an abusive relationship, you need to get out. Okay, that's the feeling I get with this. If it's not an abusive relationship, but you have some kind of ties to someone that's making you feel a bit stuck, could be family issues. You're having some issues with possibly a father figure or a guardian. Could be an older brother or a cousin, or it could be a grandparent, right, like a grandfather, or it could be an ex-spouse. So it could be someone you're divorced to, right? It could be your ex-husband or something on that level, okay? That you feel trapped in the circumstances because you don't want to deal with this person anymore. They're very toxic and you've had a lot of disagreements with them. But maybe you have children, right? And that's what keeps you from being able to just cut this person out completely, because obviously you have obligations and responsibilities to maintaining some kind of relationship with their father, right? The children having this relationship with their father. So that may be the thing that's making you feel stuck. But just take it however it resonates, if it does resonate. If it doesn't, that's fine. Don't try and make it apply, because it's just not going to work and that's not going to serve you. Maybe check out one of the other signs, depending on what your chart is, your sun, moon, or rising. Have a look at maybe one of the other videos. But if this does resonate, this reading so far, then I feel like there is someone that's making you feel trapped in this situation, okay? Alright, and then going into early next week, you have the Ace of Swords. So something's going to come in, right? There's going to be some very clear communication that might come as a bit of a shock to the other person, but I think you're going to vocalize something. You're not going to be meek about it by any means. You're just going to be very direct and say exactly what's on your mind, because you're feeling this, right? You're feeling this contempt and this resentment towards the person and the situation. So maybe they make a snide remark, or maybe they're like, oh, why are you so grouchy, or what's upset you so much? And you just turn around and you just snap at them, right? Not as in screaming, but you just let them have it. Like, you just tell them exactly how you've been feeling, right? And that's what I feel like, especially with this, with the Father of Swords in reverse, the King of Swords, and then this Ace of Swords straight afterwards. I feel like their communication is really lacking, and it's quite childish, it's very infantile. And you're just going to come in like, razor sharp, saying exactly how you feel, but, communicating in a very mature way, right? But just being very direct, taking no bullshit, right? That's the energy I see here. And that's going to shock the other person, because they've not been communicating in such a way, right? They've been kind of childish about it and not really saying exactly what they mean or what they think, right? But you're just not going to mirror that at all. You're just going to come in very direct, okay? And that might give them a bit of a shake-up, right? So in the middle of the week, you have the Sun of Wands in reverse. So, yeah, I feel like... you're just kind of a bit depleted. I feel like emotionally and energetically, you're quite drained at this time. And you don't feel like you can really, take care of yourself from that level, right? You don't have the energy to even sit down and take the time to do the inner work and, do some meditation and, really try and build your energy levels back up, because you just got too much stuff to deal with right now, right? So it's just like this whole situation is just kind of taking its toll on you a little bit, and you're like, I know I need to focus on myself, I know I need to do this work, but I'm just so tired, like I'm so drained, I don't even have the energy to meditate, right? That's what I feel with this. But then going into the weekend, you are going to do the introspective work, you are going to do the inner healing, right? You're going to separate yourself from this circumstance and the individual to do the necessary work, because you know that sitting in this energy is really not doing you any good, right? And that maybe you've been in it for a long time, but you just can't do it anymore. And that's why you've just had this real, definitive communication where you just said your piece and you're like, this is what I want, this is what I'm doing, I'm not having this anymore, I'm done, right? So this might be you actually breaking out of this energy at this point, right? Next week. Because this person comes in saying something really stupid and you're just like, what the hell are you even talking about? Like, you just put them straight, right? So that might be the inflection point where you're just like, no, I'm done. I'm actually done. Okay? So yeah, either way, I feel like you are going to go inwards. You're going to not be very sociable over the final weekend of September, okay? You're going to be just wanting to have some space to yourself, to clear your head, to do the inner work, and just heal a little bit, try and heal your wounds from this situation, and just try and declutter your thoughts, because everything's just a bit muddled at the moment with everything that's been happening, and then this toxic connection with this person, and probably really just negative communication that you're having as well, where they're trying to gaslight you in some way, or they're just trying to pull at your heartstrings to make you do what they want, and so you're having to really decipher what thoughts and feelings are yours and what they're trying to project on you, right? So that's why that's really important, that you have that space and time to do that, providing of course you don't just cut yourself off completely from like your support network, because I feel like you will need a little bit of support in this time, right? Okay, so I'm just going to go in and clarify now, because we got an overview of what's going on, but it's always good to get more information. So with the Six of Wands in reverse, beginning of last week, you have the Two of Wands in reverse. So yeah, I feel like this is an ex-partner, or a high level, a strong level, a strong connection that you cut off, right? So this could be, yeah, as I said, an ex-partner, an ex-husband or wife, family member, someone on that level, right, that you've cut off. You've cut off this connection. But you're still stuck within the situation. The situation isn't gone, but you are not with this person anymore. And you have the Six of Wands in reverse, so you know that this is so far removed from what you actually want. But you don't see an easy solution, right? There's too many factors involved. So while you're wanting to change the circumstance, you're very reluctant to move forward, because there's just still too many variables to take into account. There's things that you need to take care of, and you've probably got a bunch of people telling you to leave this circumstance, and you might be getting a little bit defensive about that, not realizing that they're just trying to support you, but you don't know the facts, you don't know the full story, right? So just leave me to it, okay? That's what I'm seeing here. So what about with the Two of Pentacles in reverse then? Okay. So you've got the Knight of Pentacles and the Four of Pentacles in reverse. So you know that the decision you're making isn't bringing you any closer to creating that stability that you're looking for. The foundation is still off, right? And you know that on every level it's making you feel lack, right? So emotionally, spiritually, mentally, even with your finances, right? You may be feeling a bit trapped because of this situation, and it's really bringing you a lot of upset. And with this Knight of Pentacles in the upright, I think you keep looking to the future. You keep thinking that if I just try and be as amicable and passive, and just bide my time as much as possible, then things will work out in my favor, right? But it doesn't work like that, and that's what's being shown here, that's not the way to go in this situation, okay? So what about with the Five of Swords in reverse? So that last weekend with the harvest moon. Okay, so you've got the Empress in reverse, which is exactly the energy you were in at this time. The Eight of Wands in reverse. So feeling confined to it in some way, feeling like that energetically you are still far removed from where you ought to be, that you're trying to get somewhere, but there's still obstacles you need to face in order to reach that point, and that's why you're feeling just really off and not on top of things. You're not in your element, I feel. And then with the Death card, you know that this circumstance is changing, right? That even though you're refusing to kind of just cut it dead, it's going to happen anyway. So I think you've probably got a lot of concern around that, because you're not sure what the consequences of that is going to be, whether it's going to work in your favor or not. And that's probably bringing you more worry and making you feel very unsure of yourself and, unconfident, whether or not you can move forward from this if things just kind of collapse or change entirely, right? I think there's some element of fear and concern there over whether or not you can move forward. Okay, so with the wands then, the 3 of Wands in reverse. Okay, you got the Ace of Cups. So I think you know what your heart is trying to tell you. I think you know what it is that you actually want. You know your principles, you know your boundaries, you know what matters to you most, you know what makes you happy, you know what brings you fulfillment and joy. But by sacrificing that, you're just resigning yourself to a lifetime of misery, right? So it's important that you don't. You have to focus on that. You have to keep that in mind, because otherwise, what is the point, right? Like, what gives you the reason to get up in the morning, right? If you're just living in such a miserable environment and circumstance, right? So it's really important that you don't just kind of sacrifice your happiness in the hopes that things will kind of just magically work out. It won't happen like that. And you've got the World card in reverse, so you're not learning the lesson here yet. I feel like there is a karmic lesson within this that you need to learn, and you're delaying your own learning, right? By choosing not to move forward. Okay. So with the 5 of Wands, you've got the 4 of Swords in reverse and the 7 of Cups. So yeah, this disconnect is really bringing into frame what it is that you need in life to be happy. What is it that you wish for? What is it that's going to bring you that emotional abundance and fulfillment, right? But if you want it, you can't just sit there and wait for things to just be resolved. You have to go after it. You have to come out of that, stagnation. Because all you're sitting in right now is just this energy of disconnect, even from yourself, right? So you have to come out of that space and move forward to what it is that you do want, what you would like to manifest into your life, okay? And what about with the Father of Swords then, this very toxic energy or individual? I mean, with the Swords, there's air energies, that could be Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. Okay, so you've got the High Priestess in reverse. So, yeah, I mean, this person I feel like this person is not very intuitive. And obviously everyone has intuition, right? We have these awarenesses, right? These aspects of self, and these also extrasensory perceptions, okay? But they are really detached from it at this time because of the energy that they're operating in, because they're operating in the space of ego and vanity and pride and selfishness, right? Very, very low frequency energy, right? So they are actually suffering quite a lot as well. They're actually doing a lot of harm to themselves even at this stage. And I think you're just kind of done with having to communicate with them on that level, right? Because it's just bringing your overall energies down, right? So I feel like this is how they view themselves. I don't think this is necessarily indicative of where they are in life, but this is kind of the energy they view themselves in. That they have it all figured out, that they're very grounded and they're affluent and they're full of abundance. They may be financially very well off, but in other areas of their life, they're clearly lacking, right? Particularly emotional intelligence. And possibly they're very stubborn, right? So trying to communicate with them on any rational level. So even though they're very left-brained and, very logical, when you're trying to communicate your thoughts and feelings to them in a way that's logical, they're just not seeing it, okay? They might not have very much empathy. So I feel like you're going to be dealing with that a bit more over the weekend. So just be aware that there'll probably be some communication back and forth between you that's going to be draining and infuriating. Okay, so just to be aware, so you can emotionally prepare for that. Because as we see in the beginning of the week, you're just coming in with like a razor sharp tongue and just saying exactly how you feel and how the situation is. Not holding anything back at this point. So let's clarify that Ace of Swords for you. Okay, so you've got the Three of Pentacles, which is great. I feel like maybe someone is going to come in to try and mediate or support you so that you have the strength to say what it is you need to say. You're going to feel the change from having that communication and that support, right? That the Sun is the first time in a while with this circumstance that you really feel empowered, uplifted, right? That sense of not being empowered is going to subside if you continue down this path and not remain where you are, right? So having that support and knowing that people have your back, that people fully understand what it is that you're going through and want to support you, really gives you a lot of empowerment and makes you feel very supported and like you're being nurtured, right? So with the Five of Pentacles in reverse, I do feel like with this person, however, that you're not going to get the response you need, and they're going to be very, they're going to still be in this energy about it and just downplay it and be very, very negative and possibly even try and pin the blame on you. And rather than try and come to some resolution, I think they're just going to walk away from you, and that's going to be quite upsetting for you. Because obviously this was a long time coming, you having this conversation with them. It took a lot of strength on your part to do it. But then they're not even sticking around to hear it all out. They just walk away, right? And that really upsets you. Okay. But you still feel empowered for doing it. You're still proud of yourself for doing it. And, as I said, you have support there. I feel like a friend or a family member is going to be there supporting you at this time. Okay, so that's good. So what about in relation to the middle of the week then, with the Sun of Wands in reverse? Because you're feeling very drained by this, okay? This encounter that you have in the start of the week really took its toll on you emotionally and energetically, but it was very cathartic as well. It gave you the opportunity to say what you've been wanting to say to this person and feel safe enough to do it, right? Okay, so what about the Sun of Wands then? Okay, so you've got the Knight of Cups in reverse. So yeah, emotionally you just like, you just can't give anything to anyone at this point, not even yourself, because you're just depleted. You need to recharge. You need a reset, okay? So recuperate is what I feel is you need to do at this point. After you have this this communication with this person, really just take some time out and try and recuperate and recharge, okay? Because you're going to be very, very drained as a result. Is there anything else here? Okay. Again with the Ace of Swords, right? So, yeah, I mean, you're drained by this communication that you've had, but it's also uplifted you as well in some ways. I think everything is so much clearer in your mind now, and that now that you've said how you felt, it's helped you to decipher a lot of things actually, and the way they communicated back with you gave you a better insight into how the situation was playing out and how they were trying to manipulate you in some way. So you had that clarity in mind, and now it's not foggy anymore, okay? There is no confusion, all right? That's the key thing here. This lifted any sense of confusion. So you know what it is that you want, and you know that you're not taking it anymore, and you're going to be very direct with what it is that needs to happen moving forward, right? So that's very powerful, actually. You know, it's a very powerful inflection point for you, Capricorn. And yeah, you should be proud of yourself when you do that, because, you know, I know it's not easy to stand up to people that try to belittle you, right? So you should be very proud of yourself. Okay, so going into the weekend then with the Hermit, you have the Seven of Wands in reverse and the Hanged Man in reverse. So yeah, it's really like this encounter has really changed your perspective on the whole circumstance. Where you was not prepared to walk away in order to heal yourself, you know, you wanted to stay where you are and just try and make things work around it, just to try and avoid any further conflict. You don't feel that way anymore. You know you need to go in and focus on your own self-care and healing, right? That you need to take some time out and really rebuild yourself, you know, do all the inner work and healing in the places that need it. And just build up your confidence again, right? So yeah, you've had a completely changed perspective. It's really gave you that clarity and awareness that, you know, actually I can do this and I am strong enough and I don't need people like this in my life, and why should I settle for this, right? You're not going to do that anymore. And with that Seven of Wands in reverse, where there would have been, you know, inner conflict and indecision and, you know, kind of maybe even going back on things because of your fear and how things may pan out. You're not doing that anymore. You made a decision. You made it quite clearly that no, I need to think about what's in my best interest, what's going to be best for me and what I want, okay? So that's what you're doing, right? I feel that's the energy you're stepping into, and that's why you're going to remove yourself from people that do bring you down and really just have the time for yourself to do the work, which is great. That's the perfect way to come out of this space, right? So let's see if there's any parting advice for you in relation to this, Capricorn. Okay, so you got the Ten of Swords and you got the Star in reverse. Okay, so yeah, I just feel like, you know, you are walking away. Like you've communicated something, and you even shocked yourself that you were communicating this. But you made it very clear that you're done. You're moving away from this. It's over, right? That this situation is not playing itself out anymore, because it's clear in my mind that this is not good for anyone, certainly not me, and I don't have to put up with this. I don't deserve this, so I'm closing the door on it, and I'm stepping into a whole new situation, right? Which is exactly where you need to go. And with the Star card in reverse, I think it's you realizing that this wasn't, I mean, even if initially it was very positive and there was a lot of fireworks and, you know, there was a lot of passion and connection, you're realizing that this isn't what you dreamed of, okay? That this is the opposite of what you had in mind. So, you know, no matter how many good memories you have with this person, how much you may still love them, it's time to walk away, right? And that's what you're doing towards the end of the month, or certainly into next month. You're going to be walking away from all of this. It's time now, right? But with this in reverse as well, it could be that the person you're dealing with, because there was a lot of energy coming up in certain places, it could be that the person's an Aquarius, or they could also be, with this Emperor, they could be Aries, but not necessarily. But yeah, they're two signs that could potentially be for this person, Aries or Aquarius. But whoever it is, right? It doesn't matter if that's not their signs or if that's not in their chart. Whoever it is, they are not your wish fulfillment, and you've realised that, and you are leaving their ass, okay? So, well, I mean, that's pretty full on, I will admit. But the good thing is, like I said, you're leaving it behind. You're not staying in this. This has come up because obviously this is what you were doing and this is important to address. But you're not staying there. You're moving away from this situation. You're leaving them behind. And you're going to, I I feel like you're going to set very clear new boundaries, and that probably comes in around here, if not a little bit after. You're going to be very vocal on what it is that you're willing to accept and not willing to accept. Clear boundaries, new way of doing things, and you're just walking into this energy of empowerment and strength and clarity. So that's amazing, Capricorn. I know it started off pretty heavy, but you know, it's really looking good, particularly towards the end of the month, okay? So keep your chin up, you're doing great, you have support, you will be okay, all right? So thank you so much for watching this. For those who it resonated with, please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and do like it if you found it useful. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing your next reading, because I feel like it's really going to turn around for you, okay? So I wish you all the best.